Hello everyone, let's see how to connect a small professional audio system. In this tutorial, we will try to explain with simplicity the fundamental notions to be able to install and use a system. Professional audio was born with the need to record, reproduce, and amplify one or more sound sources at the same time. For this reason, the heart of a professional audio system is the mixer. This tool allows us to combine different sound sources coming from various sources such as microphones, musical instruments, players, etc., generating a single audio signal together that we can direct to the amplification outputs and to the recording system. Even if with some small differences between the various brands and models, the mixer interface is easy to read and reflects a now standardized scheme. On the left side, we find a division into vertical columns. Each column forms a line that is an input for a single sound source. The line is made up of various types of inputs in the upper part and a series of adjustments in the lower area. There are mainly two different types of line. On the left side, we first encounter the lines dedicated to microphones, with the typical XLR input with a characteristic circular shape with three small holes inside, and the presence of an additional adjustment at the top compared to the other non-microphone lines. This is due to the presence on these lines of a preamplifier that allows you to increase the input signal that would otherwise be too low. The lines to the right of the microphone lines are called line type and are used to receive all those mono or stereo signals that do not require preamplification, such as in the case of audio players, keyboards, synthesizers, and so on. Finally, on the right side, we find the various outputs with the relative level control. The outputs dedicated to recording, which are nowadays essentially entrusted to the PC, include both a direct input and an output without the possibility of adjustments. This allows us to record and reproduce the mixed signal directly. After this quick description of the mixer, let's start with the connections. First of all, let's connect our mixer to the mains and place it in a convenient area where we can intervene on the adjustments and connections. Among the various available outputs, we identify the main output, generally called main or master. We start by inserting the jack cable in this case, but it could be an XLR in the channel corresponding to the side of the amplified speaker that we will use, or to the amplifier input if we use a passive system. In our example, we use an active studio monitor. It can be recognized immediately by the presence of the power supply that provides the current necessary for the operation of the amplifier incorporated into the speaker. At this point, we identify the inputs and proceed with the connection of the opposite end of the cable coming from the mixer output. First, however, let's always make sure that the active speakers or the amplifier are turned off so as not to cause damage to the system. Only at the end of the connections of both channels is it possible to turn on the amplifier or the active speakers, always with the volume at minimum, and only subsequently will we set the maximum volume. Connections to the mixer lines can also be made with the mixer on, but be careful that the line volume on which the connection is being made, which is at the bottom of the corresponding column of the mixer, is set to -infinity. Let's start by connecting a common dynamic microphone for the voice to our mixer. Let's identify the line from which we want to connect the microphone and make sure it is correct from the mixer graphics and the presence of the preamplification adjustment, and insert the end of the cable coming from the microphone. At this point, we can move on to turning on the microphone. Set the preamplification adjustment to about half. As for the other adjustments, let's leave the equalizer in the central position for the moment. secondary outputs for the effects and leave the balance between the right and left channels at the center. We bring the line level to about half, move on to the main output level adjustment and bring it to half as well. At this point, we test our microphone, improving the signal level by acting on the preamplification and line level control with small movements to avoid distortion or the very annoying typical microphone whistles. Nowadays, most microphones use the XLR connection, which ensures better audio quality as well as allowing the use of condenser microphones, which for their operation require an external power supply called, in jargon, phantom or 48 volts. The procedure for connecting this type of microphone is similar to the one we have just seen for the dynamic microphone, with the difference that first of all you have to activate the microphone power by identifying the power button. Then we proceed as before. We bring the preamplification volume to about half, as well as the line level, and we test our microphone, always with small variations, as regards the various levels. If the line type lines are insufficient, it is possible to use the microphone lines to accommodate the mono signals. In this case, you must make sure that the preamplification level of the channels you want to use are set to the minimum value. Now we connect the end of a jack cable to the input of the chosen line and the opposite end. In our case, it has a monophonic synthesizer, leaving the various adjustments unchanged. We bring the line level to half, we adjust the output volume. We verify the operation by activating our synthesizer. Not being busy testing the microphone with our own voice, we can, for example, test the operation of the line equalizer, evaluating its behavior both positive and negative in the individual frequencies. Now let's see the exclusively line-type inputs. These inputs can accommodate both mono signals, that is with the same signal between the right and left channel, and stereo, that is with two separate signals between the right and left channel. In our example, we will use a drum machine with stereo outputs that will be connected to the mixer using a double jack cable, taking care not to invert the channels during the connection to the mixer. Let's turn on the device and start our drum set and raise the line volume. Obviously, we must have already adjusted the master or main output level. All mixers have a headphone output with a special adjustment, which is essential to obtain a good mix, especially in live situations. Through the output dedicated to recording, in this case called CD tape, it is possible to take the mix signal and send it to our PC. For the first test, you can also use the internal card of the PC, but for better recording, we recommend using a dedicated sound card. Now all we have to do is experiment with our first audio mixes, paying attention to the dosage of levels of the individual lines and not exceeding the distortion threshold. For this reason, the bright LEDs on the individual lines come to our aid, warning us of the exceeding of the critical distortion threshold, or CLIP. It is the global output level meter that must never reach the red zone. Otherwise, the sound will be distorted, and only in a few moments will it have to reach the yellow zone, in such a way as to maintain a certain threshold of signals available for any volume peaks. If you have any doubts or questions, write to us in the comments. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel